Don't forget the hungry. Don't forget the thirsty. Don't forget the ones who have no home. The orphan all alone, they lie here waiting. Jesus calls for us to go. Remember every life he suffered for. Remember the poor.
What you have just seen is part of a music video for our new Remember the Poor initiative. Similar to World Hunger Day, which we began more than 10 years ago, a Remember the Poor initiative will challenge congregations concerning our responsibility to the desperate needs of the poor in our world. When the Apostle Paul defended his mission to the Gentiles, Peter, James, and John, the leaders of the Jerusalem church, gave him only one instruction: remember the poor. They could have said, feed the poor or care for the poor. Why did they say, remember the poor? I believe the answer is simple: because the poor are so easy to forget. But God's word commands us, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in the power of your hand to do so. As in the parable of the Good Samaritan, the Spirit of Christ within us does not allow us to pass by on the other side when someone is in need. The church is God's ordained agency, both for reaching the lost and touching the poor. Consider this: who can better minister to people in your community? A city agency, a secular or parachurch organization, or the caring people in your church? We have a network of more than 2,700 missionaries and 55 million national believers in 330,000 churches throughout the world. They are the most efficient means of serving the poor because they are already there, in place to touch poor and suffering people with the compassion of Christ. Assemblies of God World Missions enables the fellowship to accomplish together what we can't do separately, providing the long reach between responsive hearts in America and desperate needs all over the world. In the past 7 years, we've been able to distribute more than $3.5 million in relief to 67 countries, for which no public appeal for funds could be made. Most of these funds came from offerings contributed by more than 1,000 churches that have recognized Assemblies of God World Hunger Day.
When you see on the news the disasters that are happening, war zones, we often have the opportunity to do things in those areas that we can't talk publicly about. One of the primary news stories you see on your television every day, we are in there right now with some money that was released to us from Remember the Poor funds, and we are purchasing flour for a local bake shop who is baking bread and giving it to the poor without cost.
Many places where we can make the greatest impact are in sensitive or restricted countries where we can't publicize what our missionaries and national churches are doing. Having funds on hand enables us to strategically respond to urgent needs where the gospel can be proclaimed and churches established in places where otherwise that ministry would not be possible. In the last 5 years, because of one tsunami and one earthquake, Assemblies of God churches gave more than $17 million to help just 4 countries: Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Haiti. This means that almost 2/3 of our total donated relief funds went to less than 2% of the countries where we have missionaries. During that same time period, we were only able to give $3.5 million for 67 countries that needed help. We're grateful for generous giving when desperate needs arise, but we're commanded by God to be a worldwide mission. We cannot be media-driven. We must be mission-driven. If your church conducts a Remember the Poor emphasis, you can greatly help us be more strategic in ministering to the poor of our world. What can a Remember the Poor emphasis accomplish in your church? It creates an awareness of the incredible desperate need throughout the world. It teaches your congregation our biblical responsibility to the poor. It enables our missionaries to touch the poor and suffering. It helps youth and children appreciate God's blessing in our lives. And it can eliminate the need for relief appeals other than major disasters. If recognizing World Hunger Day at Thanksgiving over the years has been effective for your church, you can still use Remember the Poor materials for a World Hunger Day event. The designated time for World Hunger Day has been the Sunday before Thanksgiving, but some years that weekend fell either too close to a significant disaster for which a major appeal was made, or too close to a church's missions convention. A Remember the Poor emphasis can be recognized at whatever time is most convenient in your church calendar. Our media department has produced several powerful videos to help you communicate the need of the poor to your congregation.
A true test of our character is how we treat those who can't do anything for us. Jesus says, even sinners lend to each other in order to be paid back. But we are called to live differently.
Another song we produced has a more edgy style for a younger generation.
The nations wait for me and you to dig the wells, to build the schools, and serve and call to give our lives away. We must remember them, we must do something. They're not invisible if we have eyes to see, 'cause we love Jesus when we serve the least of these. How can we hold back after what Jesus did?
Sina Canada, who has worked with us for 12 years, traveled to Africa to live for a week with a poor African family. Her video gives American congregations a feel for what the daily working life of a poor family is like.
Yene bali ka ne ka ɲagali dafa a ma den sɔrɔ fɔlɔ o de kɛra hami ye n ka denkɛ ka furu ta fan fɛ n'o tɛ n ka buramuso a diyara n ye kosɛbɛ a ye n nisɔndiya kosɛbɛ yɛrɛ o la o de kosɔn ne tɛ ne jigi tigɛ ala la adamadenw n'a fɔ dɔgɔtɔrɔw waati dɔw la a bɛ gɛlɛya u ma fɔ u yɛrɛ jigi bɛ tigɛ.
Our graphics department has produced beautiful posters as well as faith promise cards, offering envelopes, and bulletin covers. We have a Remember the Poor book available by Executive Director John Bueno that presents what God's Word teaches concerning Christians' responsibility to the poor, and a 16-page photo feature on the poor. These can be distributed to your congregation to read during the week before you receive your Remember the Poor offering. Similar to World Hunger Day, funds received in a Remember the Poor offering are used for 3 primary causes: AG World Relief, AG World Child Care, and shipping costs for Convoy of Hope containers. We encourage you to afford your congregation an opportunity to help these great needs. We're not asking you to receive a Remember the Poor offering if you already plan to conduct a one-day to Feed the World event for Convoy of Hope, our primary relief partner. If you help Convoy of Hope, you're helping us. Just as World Hunger Day offerings have helped us to meet these needs in past years, if enough churches participate in this Remember the Poor initiative, it could eliminate the need for relief appeals other than for major disasters, as well as help in many other ways. Thank you for prayerfully considering what we believe is an incredible opportunity to obey God's Word, to remember the poor of our world.